Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Kat Fantin. I am a work-from-home mom and newborn photographer. In this video, we're going to talk about some mistakes that new photographers make while they're editing. These are mistakes that I have personally made myself, so don't feel like I'm trying to make fun of anybody or pick on anybody's work. I'm just looking back at my own mistakes and showing you guys stuff that I wish somebody would have pointed out to me when I was just starting out. Keep in mind that art is subjective, so some of these things might actually work for you in your intentional style. But sometimes we can be doing these things without even really realizing it. So I encourage you to take a look at your own work and be your harshest critic. This tea is really hot. I'm just gonna set this down. I can't drink it yet. Mistake number 1 is having a halo around your subject in your photo. You can change the exposure or the contrast with the radial filter or the local adjustment brush in Lightroom, or just any adjustment layers in Photoshop. And the halo is when that effect is not just on your subject. It kind of bleeds out a little bit, either in a harsh way or just gradually. So you end up with this halo around your subject. And it may not be noticeable when you're up close, zoomed in, editing your photo, but once you post it on Facebook and go to look at it later and it pops up in your newsfeed, you're gonna see this halo effect around your subject and you're gonna be like, dang it. Or you might not even notice it at all. It's kind of just something that photographers see with our trained eyes. So how can you fix this? Just don't be a lazy masker. You guys, all you have to do is go in and erase the changes, or, mask off the changes from your background. Just keep them on your subject. Now, I do have an example of this in my own work, but it's from when I first started, so I wasn't using contracts yet. So just out of respect for the privacy of those first clients that I had, I'm not going to show the photo, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. You can check to make sure that you don't have a halo around your subject by zooming way out so you have just a little bit of the picture, like, a little small version of the picture on your screen, and you should be able to see any halo effect then. Mistake number 2 is, I'll fix the background in post. Don't make this mistake. You guys, just stop doing this. I know we all are very tempted to just snap the photo and fix it later in Photoshop, but you're just creating more work for yourself, and that's not being efficient. Slow down, make sure that your subjects are on your backdrop, or, wipe that kid's face off. Do whatever you have to do to make the photo as perfect as possible straight out of camera. Slow down, take your time, because it will save you more time later. Mistake number 3, I want to talk about over-smoothing skin. It's a great thing to be able to retouch your client's skin and give them an airbrushed look that you would see in magazines. Everybody wants to be perfect, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want to see the best version of ourselves in pictures. Unfortunately, sometimes as photographers, we just do a little bit too much. And when you over smooth the skin, you take out the pores, you take out any wrinkles, you take out highlights and shadows, and it just creates this flat, solid color, cartoonish looking person. You want to make sure that your subject at least still looks natural, like a real live person, and not like a cartoon or a drawing. I'm not talking about painterly edits where you purposely go in and make your subject look like a fine art painting. That's something completely, totally different. I'm talking about everyday family portraits. Don't go too crazy with the skin smoothing. Everybody is beautiful, and natural skin is beautiful. You don't have to look like a retouched advertisement in a magazine to be beautiful. Something you can do to minimize that look of overprocessed skin: learn how to light your subjects in a flattering way that will minimize imperfections. Number four. What was number 4? Are we on number 4? Yeah, wow. Okay, number 4, overdoing the eyes. I know that sometimes you'll see a photo and the person's eyes are super sharp and bright and in focus, and it's like this beautiful crystal clear photo of eyeballs. But when you have just a regular everyday portrait, you don't want to over sharpen or over clarify or brighten their eyes too much, because then it just looks fake. You can tell it's been edited too much. It's great to have these nice, clear, in focus eyes, but what you need to do in order to get that effect is, again, in camera, make sure you nail the focus on your subject's eyes and look for catch lights. If there aren't any catch lights, the eyes are going to look dull. I know we're talking about editing, but really a lot of this stuff happens in camera. So make sure that you have some sort of light source, either the sun or your studio lighting or even a reflector, something to provide that catch light in the eyes that will really make them shine and sparkle. You don't want to have lifeless eyes with no light. And no amount of sharpening or clarity sliders or Photoshop actions are going to bring life back into the eyes. And if you try too hard, it's going to look like you tried too hard. So scale it back, get it right in camera. My tea is still too hot. Oh wait, no, it might be okay now. Let's try. So my guilty pleasure is Diet Coke, specifically cans of Diet Coke. It's just so refreshing and a great source of caffeine for tired moms like myself. But you know, Diet Coke isn't the best thing to be drinking, so I've been trying to drink more tea, which I also enjoy. It's just not quite as satisfying. So wish me luck in my journey to cut back on Diet Coke. Editing mistake number 5. Using the clarity slider. I know that the clarity slider has its uses, such as landscape photos where you want more detail and definition in the small details of landscape photos, or in a nice, gritty, moody, black and white lifestyle photo. Those are great uses for the clarity slider. But everyday portraits don't need that gritty HDR look. And if you do use that effect, it's not going to stand the test of time. It's going to look very dated because extreme effects like HDR are not going to represent a timeless family portrait that should be your goal to create. Another use of the clarity slider is to go the other way and use it as a skin smoothing technique. This just completely destroys any detail and, like, you know, again, highlights and shadows in your client's skin. And, you know, go back to over smoothing the skin. Don't use clarity. I highly recommend learning how to smooth skin in Photoshop or purchasing the portraiture plugin for Lightroom if you're afraid of using Photoshop. I'm sure there are differing opinions on this topic, but I'm here to tell you that using the clarity slider to smooth skin just isn't the best look. And I'm saying this because I have done it. And I look back on those photos and they just, I am sorry, previous clients. I didn't know. You know what sounds great right now? Diet Coke. So, moving on to our last mistake, delivering 100 or more photos for one session. Just because we live in this digital day where we can take 1,000 photos in one session and then upload them to our computer and batch edit them all super fast and then deliver them to our client. You shouldn't do that. It's a disservice to your clients. What happens is it gives them decision fatigue and information overload because they have all these photos that are very similar with very small differences. Then they have to decide which ones they like most, which ones they want to share on social media, which ones they want to print and hang in their house. It puts too much work onto your client. Do the work yourself. Cull the photos down to the very best ones, the best of the best. Just because someone was, smiling like this in one picture, and then they slightly turn and smiling like this, there needs to be a significant difference in the frame for it to make the cut. A good number for one session is around 25 to 30 final edited photos, because that's about the amount of photos that you could fit in a professionally printed photo album, or pick one or two good ones to put on your wall or in a collage of some sort. You're not going to use 100 photos for anything, and it may temporarily bring your client joy to have so many photos in their gallery, but that joy will not last forever. They're going to pick a few favorites and share those, and that'll be that, and you will have wasted your time editing those other photos. Make it easy and stress-free on your client. Do the work yourself. Pick the best images, and then deliver those best images to your client, and they will be equally as happy. I'd also like to add a disclaimer that this does not apply to weddings or events or something special like birth photography. There are exceptions to this where you should probably deliver a lot more photos. But do not give them a gallery of over 100 photos for a 30-minute family photo session. You are the photographer. It's your job to know which photos, which frames are best. And if they're very similar with a slight difference, just pick one. If you are sitting there saying, oh yeah, I already knew these things, well, good for you. You were ahead of where I was when I was a new photographer. I'm just saying that these are the things that I did when I was starting out. I wish someone would have seen me doing these things in my work early on, and they would have told me, Kat, that doesn't look good. Things happen. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If this video was helpful and you'd like to see more like it, then go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys later. You can use these tools to raise the exposure or change the contrast.